Every day I wake up is another blessing. Thankful every second, getting God's protection. I lost connection in the desert, I had no reception. But in that time alone, I probably learned 1,000 lessons. I used my time for introspection and some self-reflection, and analyzed a couple ways to conquer my depression. Everything doesn't happen the way we plan it to, but if we harvest energy, then we can plan it too. So take a look in my eyes, that's where the story lies. I'm telling truth, and that isn't often glorified. I'm showing up, fully present in the moment, realizing self-doubt is my only opponent. So now I'm focused and rolling, the energy is flowing, hoping I stay zoning and my catalog keeps growing. That's the motive, and I'm devoted. My destiny awaits, and I'm not going unnoticed.
Wake up every morning and respect the blessings. Yeah, we made it out, you know that this was destined. Death, pain, scars, love and living reckless. Made it through the storm, yeah, that trip was hectic. Wake up every morning and respect the blessings. Yeah, we made it out, you know that this was destined. Death, pain, scars, love and living reckless. Made it through the storm, yeah, that trip was hectic.
I won't lie to you, baby, I took some summers off, but now I'm back at work trying to cover summer's cost. Had a couple battles, some were won and some were lost, but I fought for my life, I had no other choice. I feel grateful that God gave me another chance, but I don't understand, I still don't fully understand. Lessons learned and feathers earned. You don't think it's possible until it's your turn. Now we fight like we got nothing left to lose. No one else on earth has been in our shoes. Some will consider it paying our dues, but now we rock these battle scars like tattoos.
Wake up every morning and respect the blessings. Yeah, we made it out, you know that this was destined. Death, pain, scars, love and living reckless. Made it through the storm, yeah, that trip was hectic. Wake up every morning and respect the blessings. Yeah, we made it out, you know that this was destined. Death, pain, scars, love and living reckless. Made it through the storm, yeah, that trip was hectic. Wake up every morning and respect the blessings. Yeah, we made it out, you know that this was destined. Death, pain, scars, love and living reckless. Made it through the storm, yeah, that trip was hectic.
That should be it, bro.
Welcome to the Hype It Up Show, the podcast where we explore the world of creative entrepreneurship, YouTubers, and all things hype-worthy. I'm your host and friend, John from WHADAFUNK, and I'm excited to share with you guys the stories and insights from some of the most talented and innovative minds of the industry, whether you're an aspiring creator, a seasoned entrepreneur, or simply just looking up to date, stay with the latest trends and what's hype. This is the podcast for you. So get ready to be inspired, entertained, and hyped up as we deep dive into the world of creative entrepreneurship. I'm here with my friend, Uey Cheen, a visual artist, a creative visionary, and just an all-around creator. So first off, thanks for coming through, Cheen, and being here. Why don't you tell the people, who are you, what do you do, and who you are?
Thank you, John. I mean, it's been a long time coming. We've been meaning to do this one-on-one interview for a while and just talk about everything under the sun. Once again, I am Uey Cheen. Don't forget the $, and I like to call myself a Swiss Army knife of the arts. You know, there's not too many things within the realm of video production, digital design, everything under the sun. I direct, I edit, I animate, I illustrate, I produce, I do so many things that it's hard to really just like put it into one umbrella. But yes, creative visionary would be my description.
So how did this all start? How did this all start? All becoming a Swiss Army knife. Where did it all start from?
Well, first of all, I just want to cheers because you already know Prosecco on deck.
Prosecco on deck.
And Man, this all started from me being an artist, music artist. So I been writing for a really long time. In college, I met a friend who had a studio in Hartford that used to let me come by and record on the late night when there was no sessions. And then after I graduated, I came home and I really was focusing on making music. And then I started looking for people to hire to pay for different things, the cover designs, art, all the things, music videos, everything. And I just started to realize that one, those things get really, really expensive really fast.
Hmm.
And two, I'm a creative and I like to have creative control. So instead of looking outward and hiring people to do all the things I needed, I just decided to just start to learn. Somebody at the time was telling me to get my own setup, my own studio setup. And I was just I yeah, bought a Pro Tools bundle off Guitar Center or Sweet, one of those things. Inbox Pro Tools microphone and just kind of just got cooking. And so it started there. Everything all started from music.
So how did you get into making music? Obviously, you're a fan when you're younger. How did you start wanting to make music to begin with?
Um so when I was in maybe like 8th or ninth grade, I had a family friend living with us at the time. He was a few years older and he used to rap, and we shared a room at the time. And and I would come home from school, or at different times I'd see him writing in his notebook. And it kind of just inspired me. I was like, if he can do it, I mean, I might as well try. And at that point they were terrible. All the bar, the bars were pretty weak. But it was around that time, 14, 15, that I started writing, and I found it very useful as like a very therapeutic. And I didn't really take making music serious until I got to college, and my college roommate, who who brought me to Brooklyn, we'll get to that later. He he was rapping at the time. He was straight from Brooklyn, freshman year where we met. He's actively making music and he's rapping, and he's him and his boys back home, and he's playing me demos. And then that's when I don't necessarily say I started to think it was gonna be a possibility, because at that time I really wanted to be around music and I wanted to be in the industry, but I wanted to be a manager. I didn't even really want to be an artist at first. So that was right. That it was college that really just kind of got me, because at that point I was meeting everyone at college, and we're all there to learn, and we have our majors, and we're all in these different things. But it started to everyone that was just a creative, at the end of the day, whether they were there for business or whatever school that they were in. And yeah, I mean, just being surrounded by so many people that would just were going for it. I was just inspired to like at least give it a shot. So yeah, those late night sessions were like very formative, and very it was like practice.
So you were writing at 14, 15, but did you start recording then, or you wait you when you
Uh,
were started in college?
I didn't even consider making or trying to make music until I met the studio in Hartford. And honestly, I used to just go there to hang out and, do activities that I don't know if we're allowed to talk about on the YouTube stream, you know what I mean? But we had sessions in the sessions, and I was kind of just spending so much time there. And one night we were all there just having some drinks, hanging out. Nothing was really going on. He didn't have a session, and every so often we'd be hanging out. I might just like freestyle a little bit. And he was just like, one night he was like, "Yo, go in there," and he loaded up a beat that he had. We were just kind of messing around, and I don't know. I just kind of was like, let's go for it, you know?
So starting from there, how did that, messing around, going for it, turn into actually making music? What was it like from there to actually thinking, okay, I'm gonna actually take this a little more serious, make actual music, or was it quick, or was it just something that happened naturally? What was it like from there to actually wanting to, make your own music for real?
So from there, I really just started making songs, and I would come home, and at the time, Rakim, who you know, him and his cousins, everyone was rapping in our whole like clique. And it almost just felt like one day I came home to visit for either Christmas or something like that, and I had the CD, because at the time we can't just send audio files to each other like now. We're like, yo, check this song out. So I had a burned CD of some of the stuff I was working on. I came home, they were working on stuff, I was working on stuff, and we kind of all just like formed this clique called GMC. And we were just kind of it was just kind of on from there. We just started just putting music out, trying to get them on mixtapes and things like that. But that was the time, like I didn't really see it until I was around everyone around me, and we were really just like in the studio. We're all buying our own equipment. We're all having little setups at our cribs, and anytime we were at anyone's house, it would be like that. We are locking in, you know.
Yeah. Hold on one sec. I think we're lagging a little bit. Let me try and fix this. All right. I think we're good. All right. You tried recording, and then you said, I'm gonna actually, start making music for real. But were you taking it as like a serious thing at that time, or was it more like having fun with your friends? What was it like at that time?
Nah, at that time I thought I was a full on rapper. I was like, I'm about to blow up. And I put together a mixtape called Hard Work and Dedication. Shout out to Big Brother Biz, microphonebully.com. He's a big inspiration for a lot of, that beginning those formative years where he had the platform. He helped me out with a lot of stuff. Learning, just allowed me to come to his studio and just be around and kind of just pick it up. And I was just sold. As soon as as the people around me, and we were all feeding off each other and all feeding off that energy, I knew this was 100% the world that I was gonna be in, whether it was me as the artist, the manager, or producer. In some sense of the word, I was gonna be in the industry regardless. I just knew right then and there. It was like a magnetic energy, you know.
How important was being around that environment, do you think?
It was really, really important because it kind of allowed me to just to f- to feed off of the people around me and us. It was just a very collaborative environment, and we're always just it it I wouldn't say we like influenced each other, but we inspired each other. So if somebody said something, a dope metaphor or a dope bar, and you're like, damn, I gotta come harder, you know. And but yeah, 100%, being in the being in the around the energy and surrounding myself with the people closest to me, and that was very, very important.
So how has what you've done grown from when you started? Think back of the beginning days. How has it grown since then?
Man, exponentially. uh I would just say there was a time where it was very like independent, just trying to get get the notoriety, performing at almost every open mic I could think of, going to the city twice a week, going to the Lower East Side, hitting all the the pop-ups and all that stuff. and just the growth from there to now is it's like night and day, you know. I don't know if I should expound on moments along that timeline. Is that what you're asking?
So what did it take to get from there to the level you're at now? What was some of the things that took to get to level up?
Well, first is hard work and dedication. That's literally why I named my first mixtape that. It meant I'm a very everything I do has meaning to it, you know. So I don't like to just like say cool stuff because it just sounds good. It has to have some sort of like soul behind it. So hard work and dedication was the foundation of everything that I got to this point. And I think I got lost in the question just now.
Some of the
Sorry
things
about
that
that.
it took to get to level
Oh, some of the
that level
things
to this level.
doing stuff for free.
Hmm.
Big, 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 big. Because when you're starting out in an industry or you're trying to get yourself off the ground and get eyes on the things that you're doing, it's really hard for people to it's like going into a job with no resume, you
Hmm.
know? So I think just putting in the work, willing to do stuff for free, knowing that it's an investment, you got to invest in yourself first and foremost. And that I think that alone and networking obviously huge because almost every one of the opportunities I've gotten that are um major looks have been all from my network and no and not me having to go chase them down or someone asking me to send them my portfolio or things of that nature. It was staying in touch with the and facilitating relationships and really making those relationships strong and looking out for other people along the way as well. So if I got to look and I could get somebody in, it's like, reach back. When you make a step forward, reach back, like kind of thing. But it was my network and my dedication, 100%.
So starting out, say you don't have many network or you have a small network and you don't really have those relationships. How do you build those relationships from the start, from zero, for someone who's
You
starting
at
out?
that particular time, it was a lot of like the internet. It was MySpace, it was Facebook, it was the social medias to where you could see people that are either throw an event, reach out to them, see if you can get involved. Going down to these places that you knew are active in the scene and just inserting yourself in the crowd. You gotta be in the building. Nothing's gonna come find you. So if you're not out there searching for it, no matter where it is, and no one's starting off point is right or wrong, or it's whatever works for you. And I think just immersing yourself in the culture that you are looking to be a part of in any way, shape, or form. You gotta put yourself out there, and if you're waiting for something to come to you, you're gonna wait for a long time.
So for the people who don't know exactly what you do now, so they know a little bit about the music. So what else has been added to your arsenal of what you do since starting out with the music?
So top of the list would be so as soon as I started making my own videos, people as I'm shopping this music around in these videos, trying to get on blogs and all these things, the main question was, who did that? Who made that video for you? And I was like, I did. And so it started to just be, oh, well, how much would it cost to get one of those for me? People were, and at the time it was a little disheartening because I'm trying to get the music out there. And like, at first I was like, I might have turned down some opportunities just based off of the fact that like they weren't respecting my artistry, but they wanted what I had to offer. Like they wanted the sauce, they wanted the recipe, they wanted that, and then I did my first music video for a client, and it was That's where it started to be a director, an editor. Then I started trying to add titles to my videos, and I couldn't. The titling in the editing software was garbage, and I wanted my titles to be better, so I started to learn After Effects. After Effects got me to motion design got me to animation. Now it's like this whole one-stop shop kind of thing. So from just being an artist to then being a director and editor, a producer, a mixing engineer, because I was mixing my own music at the time, doing color grading, doing special effects in the videos, things of that nature. And then now I'm sitting here, and that's why I call myself a Swiss Army knife, because if anyone knows anything about a Swiss Army knife, it has all the tools in one thing. You got a screwdriver, you got scissors, you got a sharp knife, you got a little knife, you got a saw. And at that time, it was just, as soon as I realized I could generate money off of this side of the things and still allow myself to pursue this other side, which is a keyword that I like to use a lot. It's called parallel. When you find things that are parallel, that means at any given time you can shift between them almost without losing a step. So once I embraced the idea of this could be an actual career for me, that then the game was a game changer.
How did you learn all these programs?
Um, by locking myself in the basement and not hanging out and not going outside, and uh at that time, like, YouTube tutorials were very scarce. So you had to pay for, there was a thing called Mandy.com at the time, or Creative Cow, I think it was. And so I'm paying for these tutorials to learn these extra things. At first, I really just kind of jumped into it. I give almost all of my foundation credit to my mentor, Big Brother Biz, at 100%, because he was the one that showed me that you could do it on your own, right? So me spending time I would ask questions. I would go to his studio. I wouldn't ask to be on every song. I wouldn't even ask for nothing. All I would do was be in the room and learn, soak up as much as I could, and then go home and try to apply it.
So right now you do work for Complex. Complex is a media company. What's your role over there?
Currently senior motion graphic designer.
So how'd you start working with Complex?
That is literally circles right back to one of my topics, or one of my talking points, where is my network, before I got to Complex, there was a very large gap of learning, trying to get out there and just do everything yourself, grassroots. But to kind of just skip forward a bunch, and we're gonna like kind of jump back and forth. But so how I got to Complex was through moving to Brooklyn, which was my college roommate. He opened a studio in Brooklyn. I went there. And again, this goes back. I was not getting paid to be there. This was an opportunity to be in a situation that had potential to really grow into something. So at that time, we had a studio, we had a crew. It was me, P. We were the creatives as far as the visuals, design, things like that. We had an artist. Jay had his artists at the time that were under his business, and we were all working out of the studio. From there, we went on tour, and on tour, the other crew that was with us in the other van had their video guy. His name is Elon. Me and Elon, we're spending a lot of time, because we're in the same vein. We're at the shows, we're filming, we're doing this, we're doing all this behind the stuff. So we formed a bond, almost like we shared a common interest there. So we formed that bond. Skip ahead years later, that situation kind of dissolves itself. I go back out on my own. I start to work with this artist named Tahir from Brooklyn, and at the time I'm doing all of his mixing, recording, creative direction in partnership with him, me and him directing his videos, editing, doing everything in house. And we had a song called Baby Banks at the time, and the video was fire. Everyone was like hype about it that we knew in our circle, and people were just like overall excited about it. I knew it was like a sure thing. Like Tahir as an artist, when I first heard him sing, I was like, "Yo, this kid." I stopped making music.
Mm,
I stopped making music for those like 2 years or so. I mean, I was still messing around, but I just like put my all into him, and I was like, man, I don't need to do this. I can focus on all the other things. You know what I mean?
mm,
And I think that's what made the product so strong, is because I was just focused on that, the product itself, and not me, not my ego, not my artistry. So we have this song, we have this video. I find out, I think through a friend or maybe just on Instagram, whatever, my boy Elon is working up at Complex. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna get Tahir featured on Complex. So the goal was to get the video to Complex.
mm,
That was literally how I even ended up in the building. Um, Elon was like, "Yo, man, it doesn't really work like that. As far as I'm in the video side, and there's a lot of politics involved in what goes on the website and things of that nature." He was like, "But I can plug you with the Pigeon and Plains guys,
mm.
because they were like the indie blog, which they still are. They're like the emerging talent side of it, right?" And I was like, bet, like all good. Like, and he also just from there was asking me what I was working. I mean, obviously he saw the video. He's like, yo, great work. Like, if you're interested in editing, I'd love to kind of bring you in and help me on this project that we got coming up called Complex Con. And this was before the first Complex Con. So I came in, he was like, can you actually come into the office tomorrow? I'll set up a time. I'll talk to Jacob or whatever and tell them um, that you're gonna come in, and so I could set up that meeting for you guys. I go in there. Jacob listens to the song, the video, sees the video. He's sold like on the spot. I didn't have to twist the arm, nothing. Feature on the blog, Pigeons in the Plains, Tahir, Baby Banks. We're up, right? Everyone's hype. Things are going on, and I start to help Elon on this project that he's working on, and he just was every day. He was like, "Yo, can you come back tomorrow? Can you come back tomorrow? Can you come back tomorrow?" So I was in there on like a freelance basis, and after like a couple of weeks of me just being in the building every single day, he was like, "All right, I'm gonna offer you like," he's like, "You might as well just like take a deal or something." And I was like, "All right." And at the time, the salary offer was less than stellar. So I was like, I'll just like, if it's cool, I'll just stay freelance. Like, and he's like, all right, whatever. So I just milked that freelance for a while, and yeah. I mean, there's more things that happen along the way, but that's how the Complex situation initially started, is trying to shop the music, the product, the artist that I was working on, that I'm invested in. Um, and having a reason to be in the building almost as well,
Mm.
all that preparation that I put in, all those years of hard work and dedication, it pays off. If you stick to it, you got to be consistent, and you got to really, really believe in yourself, like have faith, and really just like know that it's gonna be some very, very long nights, very, very early mornings, and days that you eat very little. you know um
Yeah. So first, shout out to everybody listening live right now on YouTube. If you're listening live, you guys could actually ask Chop Suey Cheen a question. There's a form in the chat right now. You could ask a question. We're gonna be answering. He's gonna be answering all your questions at the end. Um, so shout out to everybody watching live right now. Appreciate everybody what tuned in, and ask a question if you have one or something sparks your mind while you're listening. So yeah, so pretty much it really comes down to, like you said,
oh, i
hard.
just I just realized I'm logged in on my Chop Suey Cheen Gmail, so I'm not a channel member with my Chop Suey Films is my channel. I was like, wait, why don't I have a channel member? But yeah.
So like you were saying, hard work and dedication really, and being persistent, and really going for things, and pretty much putting yourself out there without knowing what could happen. You don't know what could happen when you're putting yourself out there. What really made you, put yourself out there and not be afraid to hear a no, not be afraid to get some negative feedback, or just not be afraid. What made you put yourself out there in the first place like that?
I mean, I feel like I kind of just always was like that. As a kid, I was never too afraid of just like being myself and and just like trusting my gut. Staying true to who I am. Know that I got people in my life that love and care about me. Like it was just you know, I don't know. I never felt the pressure of on that side of things. Like I wanted a comfortable life. I wanted to buy my mom a big house. I wanted to be rich to where I can wake up one day and do anything I want to do. I had jobs since I was 13. I worked in almost every industry, service industry, everything, and I just knew no matter what job I was at, I knew every time that that was just not where I was supposed to be. I knew that I had a bigger purpose. I'm not cut out for the to fit into the square. I'm a, I'm an octagon or whatever shape doesn't fit in the square. I'm that.
Oh my god.
I think an octagon fits in it because it's like. Anyway, you get what I'm saying.
I got you. So like you were saying, you do stuff, your own creative work, and then you do client creative work. What is the
Mm.
difference when doing client work versus doing your own creative projects?
Control. Um,
Is it hard to switch from client work to your creative?
Depending on the client, for sure. There's a lot of the time that it's really dope because um the clients that I do have usually come to me because they see something I've made and they want me to make something in that vein for their brand, their whatever, right? So I actually turn down projects that I don't feel either I could be invested in or I could be passionate about. If I'm gonna do a music video for someone and the song is just not something I want to listen to 600 times because I'm about to edit it and have to listen to it 600 times, I did that for like there was plenty of times where I did that. Um, but shifting between the two now, it's much easier than it was because of that exact reason. They're coming to me for my perspective, for my style. So the only kind of like thing in that space is they get the final say, right? So let's say I make four versions of something. I love version 1 and they want version 3, but then they want to change this and this and this, and then sometimes they can make suggestions or have notes based off something that they already like, but they want to tweak it to some degree for whatever reason. And then sometimes it can I like when a client is vocal and they have a direction or some sort of vision for their idea because it just helps me execute it that much faster and everyone's happier, right?
Hmm.
But shifting between the two is kind of difficult at times because I'm the only one that I have to please when I'm working on my stuff, and I'm a harsh critic for myself. So if I'm that hard on my own, then you can almost rest assured that I'm gonna be equally, or if not more, critical on something that I'm doing for someone else. And then sometimes you just like maybe you just suck it up and you just like, you know what, I'm doing it for the check right now, whatever the case is. I've had plenty of projects that I hated doing, but I did it because I either needed the bread or that check was just looking nice.
Yeah.
So
So what is some pros and cons for working just a creative job in general?
um the like the the variables of not knowing if something is gonna like consistency, if you don't have a steady flow or if you don't have a multiple flows, then if the momentum stops, like what are you gonna do? So as a creative, you have to constantly be thinking about what your next move is gonna be or what it looks like, and you have to really embrace the fact that um there's gonna be times where you just um have to do it for the money, even though we got into this for passion. So that's definitely a pro, and a bunch of cons is like, or that's pros and cons, but the cons is um consistency or sustainability. When you have a job, you know that you're getting paid XYZ for every week and you have this check coming, blah blah blah. So, when you get to a certain level, you have to diversify and you have to have something like me, complex. I have that's my steady. Then I have my freelance stuff that I'm my client work, and then I have my artistry that ultimately I really really want to pay off and work, because now I have sole ownership of everything I've ever done, you know. And now when it comes time for that to be valuable to someone out there, or I can position myself in a way to get the eyes on what I'm doing. That's just the con. Like the con of it is like it's no guarantees. There's just no guarantees. Every day is a hustle. You have to be just as dedicated the day after than you were the day before. And you know what it's like, John, as a creative. Not every day do I want to just make something. Some days I don't want to do like nothing, like actually nothing though. Turn off all communication, shut the world out, go outside and like sit in the sun, like nothing.
Yeah,
So
which sometimes is hard when you're doing a creative uh job as your job.
yeah, I mean, because you're relying solely on yourself to be your motivator, and solely on yourself to be that person that keeps you on your toes and keeps you going, because at the end of the day, if unless you have a boss or you're in a situation like that, then that boss is going to rain down on you. But if you don't have someone above you raining down on you, who's going to do it? um and then you got to be disciplined. Definitely have discipline, and just know that if you put your best foot forward and you really really stay on the track, and really push through those like uncomfortable situation, that it'll pay off. A lot of people will kind of like fall to that pressure, or decide that it's too hard and I just want to do something easier.
So, how does someone stay persistent? How does someone stay consistent, stay disciplined, especially through, when times aren't, as good as they should be or you want them to be? How do someone push through for that? Or how do you push through for that?
um I tend to like look inward to just know what I want out of life. It always comes down to like, what type of life do I want to live? What is the lifestyle that I want for my own self? And I let that be like it's like you hang the carrot in front of the horse, and they're just like, so you got to keep reminding yourself that you're working for, one, to do something bigger than anyone you've ever known to do, and two, to just really just like, you gotta bet it on the house, man. You gotta put all your chips in. You can't make small little bets. Like, you don't go to the casino and you're like, oh, I'm gonna bet $20. Like, yo, it's go big or go home or stay home. This is an industry of, it's cutthroat, it is competitive, and it's it's unforgiving. It won't allow it won't it won't let you just take a slip up or take like and just like it didn't happen. Like it's gonna remind you of that every day, you know.
Yeah. So a lot of things, have changed with content creation and having to create different, from back when you started, it was CDs. Now it's content creation on Instagram. How do you adapt to all the new technologies that are, because you're not only doing a creative job, but you're also doing a you're in the technology based thing. So how do you adapt to each new thing that comes out?
One thing you have to just remember that this is an ever evolving world, in all aspects. So if you're not at the very least staying ahead of the curve or keeping your ear to the street to where you're knowing the new trends or at least aware of them. Sometimes you don't have to just jump right in to the pool and like swim with everyone, but if you're not constantly looking for that new thing or that improvement and trying to work more efficiently and just try to it's quality over quantity, focus on the quality, focus on where your passions are too, because there's always going to be these new trends, these new things that are happening in the industry. And not you don't have to uh you don't have to follow suit with everything, but you do have to be aware and know that if the market is changing or the dynamic of something is in a constant flux, you just have to be. It's like software updates. You got to update your software in here. You got to constantly just be evolving and just trying to push for that next thing. And like I said, you got to stay aware, not ahead of the trend. I mean, staying ahead of the trend is a goal. Not everybody can do that, but if at the very least you got to be in the race. You can't slow up and you can't fall too far behind, because if you fall too far behind, that doesn't mean that now your marathon time is going to be affected, but there's people ahead of you that are way up in that next run of that next leg of the race.
Hmm. So going back, do you remember the time where you were decided that, like this is what you're gonna do? Like, do you remember the exact moment or the time back when you were like, all right, this is it. I'm going all in. Like you said before, you got to put all your chips in. Do you remember that moment when you were like, all right, now I'm going all in. I'm going for
Yeah,
it. Can you
it's
tell us
crazy
about that?
because it was a week before my accident. My accident that I had back in 2015. I was in Brooklyn. That situation that we had at the studio kind of dissolved. Everybody kind of went their separate ways. There was some overlap to where, I was doing very minimal freelance stuff. I wasn't really in, I was playing it safe by having a service industry job. I was delivering food at the time. And I remember I took the deliveries that one night. I get in the car. I'm either on my way out or on my way back. And in my mind, I had no backup plan. I, I wasn't saying I'm about to go get another job. I was just like, I've had enough. And this is 2015. And, I remember coming back from that last delivery and I looked at my manager and I was like, yo, I'm putting my 2 weeks in. Yo, dead ass. I didn't have no backup. I put all the chips in, man. I was just like, I'm a bet it all.
What
And
made
he
you
was
take
like,
that step?
huh?
What made you take that step?
I think it was knowing that I wasn't very happy with my circumstances at the time. I knew I wanted more still, and I felt like if I was just I was just playing it safe. I was kind of stuck in this, like, what do they call it, the mouse wheel or whatever. Like I feel like I was just running and running and running and running and there's nowhere to go.
Hmm.
um I'm picking up these little freelance gigs and I'm going home and I'm making music in my apartment and I'm trying to get my stuff on SoundCloud. And at the time, because at this time there wasn't like the distribution outlets that we have now, like these TuneCore, DistroKids, United Masters stuff. So at the time I wasn't I wasn't committed, you know. I wasn't committed to what I saw, what I started, and I knew that the only way to do that was to take a risk and just bet it on myself. And unfortunately, a week or so right after I made that decision, I got into a terrible car accident. And then I knew right after that, I was like, nah, son, like we're going hard. And it was honestly ever since that, that really just like, I had made the decision before,
Mm.
right? So that's the kind of like, kind of crazy cosmic kind of thing where it wasn't the situation that sparked that. It was just I knew before, right before that, I like something had to give, you know. And then that just happened, and it was just one of those like like, all right, wake up and let's get to work, you know. So
So how'd you, that being you had an idea what you already knew what you were gonna do before having the accident situation, but how'd you make sure that you didn't let that situation derail you from what your idea was of going for it? Because sometimes a negative situation could put some people over the edge where they're in more of a negative situation. But how'd you turn that negative into something where you're like, all right, so now this is for real. Now I really, really have to do it.
um hmm, I think it was I I was never the like the child that my mom ever had to worry about, right? She just like, it was just something. I think it was just the way I carried myself and all the things that I was just like fearless as a kid, you know. I just never, you know, I just pushed everything to the limit. And I remember her saying, she was like, "Yo, I never thought I had to worry about you."
Mhm.
And like knowing that after that situation that she was like, I I just I just knew at the end of the day, I wanted to make her the proudest mom like ever. You know, I wanted her to just like, to just know that no, she don't have to worry about me, and no matter what, like we're gonna be good. And that's what's crazy is during that time, I woke up one day and I moved back to Brooklyn after a couple months of staying at my mom's. You were there, obviously, you know, but for the people, um, and I moved back to Brooklyn with my boy Jay. We get an apartment, and I'm riding my bicycle to the physical therapy back in Brooklyn, going to the gym, doing my workouts, rehabbing my leg. And one day, I woke up, I was riding my bike. I had nowhere to go. I just got on my bicycle. I was living in Bed-Stuy at the time. I ended up in Greenpoint, and there was this tattoo shop that I had delivered food to a bunch of times, and I just went in there one day. I always wanted like a mantra or like a phrase tattooed on me, you know, like so I was running around using the word good. Um and I that started because I just, after that situation, I just realized no matter what, no matter ups, downs, hardships, successes, relationships, deaths, you know, everything, anything in the universe, no matter what, I'm gonna be good.
Mm.
Like no matter what. So, and you can't know, you can't see the future, and you don't know what's gonna happen, and you kind of just gotta like take it day by day. But I just told myself no matter what, I'm gonna be good. So I went in there and I drew. I was like, "Yo," I was like, I'm getting. I want to do walk-ins, blah blah blah." And they were like, "Yo, actually, we have one person available right now," which happened to be like the most booked out, like the tattoo artist in that shop that is almost never available. And she just happened to have like an hour overlap between clients.
Mm.
And they were like, "Yeah, we got one person." And they were like, "Yo, you want to take her?" And she was like, "Yo, so what are we looking at?" And I was like, "Just give me a piece of paper." And I
Mm.
took a piece of paper out and I just drew this right here. I drew this good on the piece of paper. I was like, "Oh, I want you to put that right here on my forearm." She was like, and at the time I only had the one tattoo on my chest, so it's not like I was tatted up I had all these she was like, yo, you sure you want this big word just right on your forearm?
Mm.
And I said, yeah. And it was just ever, and that was it. That was what kept me focused. Just knowing that no matter what happens, as long as I keep keep pushing, and you could bounce back from almost anything.
Mm. So taking it way back, coming. So now we know how you have. So he has. So Cheen has this phrase. Good. That's how you come up with that phrase. How'd you come up with the name Chop Suey Cheen? This was a question I wanted to ask in the beginning, but we got into it.
Yeah. So back to my boy Big Brother Biz, my mentor. He We were working on a video at the time. He was the one that brought me my first couple clients. Like, he was the one that he was like, yo, I got this artist, like, yo, you want to start doing videos? Like, cause he was like, I don't want to be the video guy. He's like, and you're really good at it, kind of thing. So we're like looking through the footage one day in my studio at the time, and I had just did something so fast, like I'd like chop something and put it together, and put, like, it just happened in such a rapid, like, pace, that he looked at me and said, "Man, you did that chop suey." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "That was fast." And so he used chop suey as like a metaphor for fast or quick, or
Mm.
making something that good that fast, right? More or
Yeah.
less.
Mhm.
And my name's Cheen for forever at this point, and I was just like, chop suey Cheen. Oh,
Perfect.
and the way that it just rang, and then it was like chop suey films.
Mm.
Yeah.
So your most recent music project is Summer Lambrusco. What was the inspiration behind that album?
Mm. All right. So for those that don't know, currently I live in Los Angeles, and I'm born and raised in New York. I had an album that I have been working on for a while, which is about to be done. And I knew that last summer, 2022, was gonna be my last summer in New York, because I knew I was moving at the end of the summer. I set myself a date. I said October 15th is the latest, right? And that was maybe the top of the year last year, that I had just fully made that decision right at the end of the winter. Took a trip. Well, I was working on my actual album, and I knew that I wanted to, like, release something before I left. And I was hoping that that was going to be done, but I wasn't happy enough with the progress of it. So I knew, leading up to me leaving, I wasn't going to be able to finish that the way I wanted to. So I was just making beats one day, and I don't, prior to Summer of Lambrusco, I've never really chopped a sample, right? Most of my beats I was always just trying to make something original, because I always heard these, like, horror stories of someone making a sample beat, putting it out, it blows up, they get sued, they get nothing. So I always kind of had that in the back of my head, where I was like worried about that. So I never wanted to, even when I would chop a sample, I would find a way to kind of either replay it, or make my own version of it, and not just lean on the sample. Sometimes I'd have a sample in the beat and just turn it off, and just keep whatever was there, right? And I was chopping up a sample one day, then I chopped up another one, I chopped up a couple more, and I was riding around in Brooklyn, and I was just like bumping all the beats that I had, and it just like kind of hit me, and I was like, man, it would be really dope if I did like just a purely sample based kind of EP to just kind of like throw out there, and just use it as a, promo, just something that was still like have that stamp on it, but something that I wasn't gonna critique too hard, you know.
Mm.
And then after I made like a few of those beats, I don't remember if it was before or after my trip to LA in April of last year, when I was preparing to move out here, and I came out here with some friends and shit. Pardon me. And first time I cursed all day. Look at that. Did pretty good. And I came out here. I think before I came out in April of last year, I knew I wanted to do um the sample based project for the summer, and I wanted it to encompass my summer for that year. I wanted to talk about the things that I do on a summer day. And basically it's a 4-track EP and it's one day. Like the story of the EP is a morning, afternoon, night dinner. So it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then kick back on the roof late night. That's basically what the summer of Lambrusco is. And and I got the name because at the time my stepdad had just turned 60, I believe, and we had a party for him, and somebody had gave him a bottle of Lambrusco as a gift. And when I think it was that February, my mom's birthday, we're all at the house, and I asked him, I said, "Yo, let's pop that bottle of Lambrusco that you got for your birthday." And he was like, "Oh yeah." And so he pulled it out, and it was just so we were all just like it was so good that I've had Lambrusco before, but that I remember that day I was just kind of like, oh, I was like, this is about to be like my thing, like I like Lambrusco.
Mm.
and and I think it was immediately either between that party and then I went on a date with this girl I met on one of those apps, I don't know. And I go on the date. She there's a restaurant and there's two locations. One is like in Bushwick, one's in Williamsburg. Text her the actual address to the right one. She just looked it up and went to the wrong one. So I'm sitting at the table waiting for her. She calls me and she's like, "Yo, I'm here, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Nah, you're not here." It's like, I'm here. And um so I didn't order anything yet at that time. So so she was like, "Oh man." I was like, "Yo, you're at the Bushwick location, aren't you?" And she was like, "Yeah." So I send her an Uber or whatever. I was like, "Yo, wait." I was like, "Yo, bring me a glass of Lambrusco." and and I remember sitting there on the date and I told her about the project. I had the whole concept in my head. I was like, "Yo, it's gonna be like breakfast, lunch, like a whole day. It's gonna be one day. The whole story of the whole album or project is gonna just be 24 hours." And that was just where the like I landed on the idea, and I feel like that was either late February, early March of last year.
Mm. So that's one of my personal favorite projects of yours.
Like
Um, so what it feels like.
self-produced as well, self-produced, mixed, everything, written, performed, me. I mean, I got my engineer, Sal. Shout out to Sal, shout out to my collaborators that helped me on the project first and foremost. Sal, huge part, couldn't have done without you. Um, Preach, you helped me out, helped me with some sounds, got the sound together. My man Raul, who might be on the stream, if or not, he's my photographer. He followed me around that whole day. We went to get coffee, we went to brunch. Him and his cousin Steve, like that's my man. Like those, they went with me on the day, right? And we just captured the day with photos. We did all the things. We went and got coffee. We went to brunch. We had dinner, and then we were just up on the rooftop late night, you know.
So that project kind of feels like a story.
Mm.
So why
And
did you
shout
end
out to my man Paso. He did the artwork. Usually I do my own stuff, but he had reached out not too long before that to ask me to do some animation for him. And you know what? I tucked that one, I kept that one in my pocket and I did something for free for him. I sent it to him. He's like, "Yo, so how much I owe you?" I was like, "No worries." I was like, I'm gonna call that favor back in. Don't like I kept that one in my pocket. And that's what I mean about doing stuff for free and networking and trading services, and that network is gonna always that's what's gonna be there in those times that we're talking about. How do you stay motivated, or how do you get to that next step? It's the company you keep, you know.
Mm.
So shout out to him again, because I had my man take the photo. I picked the photo and I sent it to him, and I was like, "Yo, you do whatever you think makes sense for this." And we went through like maybe like 3 or 4 rounds of revisions and we landed on that cover. So
so like I was saying, it feels like a story. Why do you think it's important to tell the story through the visuals, through the music? Why do you think the story is so important?
Um, well, the thing about it is you have two types of fans, right? You have someone that is a fan of like a hit record because it's for the moment and it's something that they can connect to or they relate to. And then you have your fans that are going to be your whole, your fan base is going to keep you afloat when you really need it most. And if you don't connect to them on a human level or and you don't show the vulnerable side as much as the other side of everyone loves the braggadocious and the fun and the exciting stuff, but what about like a little bit of the pain? What about the relate, like, are you relatable? Can someone hear your music and be like, wow, I'm not even just a fan of this person, but I like this person I want to hang out with this person, kind of thing. I want to go to brunch with him. I want to, it's like
Mhm.
thing. So it's more like tell your story because that's what's unique about you is your experience, your human experience. If you don't share that, then you're never gonna have someone that's gonna connect and be like, yo, your music saved my life, or something of that nature. And I've always looked at music as like a place of solace and salvation and the safe place in my life where I go. When I was 13, it was the first time I ever had like my first depression or my first experience with feeling depressed. It was the summer between, I think it was between middle school and high school. And at the time, I didn't realize what was putting me in that funk, but later down the years, no pun intended, funk. Shout out to What a Funk. Um, but later down the line, I realized that that was a very important part of my life. But so it was a song by DMX called "Slippin'," and shout out to DMX, rest in peace to the dog.
Mhm.
Um, he had a song called "Slippin'," and the album was called "Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood." And I really truly feel like that song itself saved my life. You know, not saved my life to where I was 13 and I was depressed and suicidal. Saved my life. It was more like it gave me that light. It
Mm.
it sh- it was like a life force. It brought me back to life. It gave me the perspective of like this was like this aggressive rapper that everyone feared and loved, and then he was like giving you this vulnerable, like, I'm slipping, I'm falling, I
Mm.
can't get up, I'm slipping, falling. So it was like I always looked at music like that. Like music, that's what music was for me as a listener. So all I ever wanted to do was emulate that and let that be my story. I want to tell my story in a sense of I want you to get to know me and really like know what it is to live, to walk a day in my shoes, or even this conversation now. It's like I could sit here and just like give you the surface level answers, but that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to connect with people, and however I have to do that, that's what I'll do.
Yeah. Um, everybody who watching live right now, we have a form that's a link to a form that's in the comments. If you click that link, you can ask a question to Chop Suey Cheen, and we'll be asking him all the questions at the end that you have for him, and he'll be answering all of them. So if you're watching live right now, the the form is in the chat. Just click it, ask a question, and then we'll be asking them at the end to Chop Suey Chin. Shout out to everybody who watches live. Really appreciate that. So, what is your creative process when making videos, music, or art? Is it all different for each of them, or does it all start out the same? What's your creative process? Can you run us through it real quick?
Um, hmm. I think there's different, whether it's music, um, video, or even just like a static design, or or even just drawing. I don't I don't have like a system, or because at any given day I could just be walking out to go take the garbage and I'll just be like, I'll sing something in my head, or words will come to me, and I'll write that down in my note, right? Or I'll just get in the music bug and I just start cooking up some beats, and I'll like make a beat and I'll just I'll write there to it. But when it comes down to, and that's for me, like my own personal stuff, I have a different approach when I'm working on like a client, something like that. So what I'd start in my space, in my world, I let the ideas come to me throughout all the walks of my my day. Every moment I find inspiration at the coffee shop or whatever the case is. When I'm working for a client, or putting like trying to get the vision across. So it usually starts with some sort of mood board or some sort of reference point where it's like, okay, maybe they come to me with a product, or this is a concept or a name, just a name. And I'm like, okay, so tell me about that story, because it's all about the story. You got to tell me where this name came from, why you're doing this, who you are, what you are, kind of thing. So then I start to step into their world and try to just like put what I see, how I see it. I put my perspective on something that they're bringing to me, right? And then it always starts with some sort of mood board or a reference point. I'll now that I have that idea, or those like bullet points of like what I'm focusing on. It's like it's a product. It's the name is this, the person is this, the story is this. Now I'm walking around all day, whatever I'm doing, and I don't just like jump into that project and just say, okay, we're booked. All right, here's your, send a deposit. Now we're locked in, and all I see is your, you know what I mean? That's not how it works for me. So I will let that kind of marinate for a while. I love when I always tell my clients or anyone I'm working with to give me a little like time ahead of when you actually want this to be done, because I'm not jumping right into my computer or whatever the case is. I'm not just going to draw this logo. These are ideas that are just going to come to me as they come. Obviously, there's deadlines and stuff like that. That's a time management thing, project management situation. But just the ideas and my creative process is that I try to find inspiration. I send references of things that I think will work, right? And then they will either agree or lean or be like, oh, I like this one, but not really that one, or like that one's too grungy, I want it clean. So starting off with a reference point really just kind of gets both of you on the same page. Now we can step into like the creative exploration. Now that we both are kind of aligned on like a vision, and we both have a reference, like a visual reference where you can say, I saw that and I like that. So let's run in that direction. But now us as creatives, I'm not about to copycat this. I'm just going to take this. Now that's simmering. Now I can flush out all those other things that I was thinking of, because I can look at something and see it 5 different ways, and it's really up to you to decide on what it is that you want, So that's always my creative process, is really just letting the idea like sit and live with it for a second and take it in and think about it and process it. And then once you've done that little preparation time, it's like, then you just get the go mode and you're just locked in. You know what that's like? It's like once you have it locked in, now we're just going, and then you want to really present a full vision at that point. So now you have what we both like. Now you put together some sort of like, deck or proposal, and you really break down like, okay, this is what I'm thinking for this part or this part or this part. And you really want to dissect it and really put together a clear vision. So we know that when we get to round 1 or version 1, we're in a good place. You know what I mean? You never want to just, all right, this is what I'm thinking, version 1. Now you spent all this time making this custom thing for this product or this person. They don't even like, they're like, I don't like it. Now what? You're gonna just go back and just try another one? It's like I'm just like throwing stuff at the wall and see if it sticks. No, that's not an efficient way. And like, yeah, I mean, there was a time where I had to learn how to really get that part of it together. But currently, that's my process when it comes to client-based things. But for me, my creative process for my own personal stuff is I just like to live my life and find the inspiration. I like to go outside and walk. I go to the beach. I will go, like whatever the case is. I just, I like, I like that to find me
Mm,
by me putting myself out in the world to receive it.
mm. So it's also really comes down to for your own creative process. You have to really put yourself out there to get the inspiration. It's it's not gonna just appear. You gotta put yourself out there for it to appear.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things like you've learned in the field that you can give to people? Some tips, some advice, some stuff through all the years that you've been, working on projects, doing client projects, doing your own music, and just being creative. What are some like some of the things you've learned? Some of the tips you could give to people who are starting out, uh, not really sure what direction to be heading. What is some stuff you could tell people?
I would say shoot your ego in the face.
Mm.
Shoot it right off your head, because if you get too stuck in what just um how do you say if what looks good or what's shiny and what sparkles the best, you're going to miss out on all of the depth, you know. You're going to miss out on all the layers of those exploring things. So yeah, sorry, can you repeat the question again? I think I got a little
Some
lost. Sorry.
so some tips and stuff that you've learned in the field
Okay.
to
Like
inspire and
technical
hype up
skills,
other people.
or you just mean like kind of where I was going in like the philosophical way of just like really just
Either or.
humbling yourself to the point where like yes, you can believe in yourself and you can think you are the absolute best thing that God has ever created. That's dope. But if you think that you are an invincible or you um are the only right answer or the only correct person in the room, then you've already like lost.
Mm,
So be willing to humble yourself when needed to be self-aware, know what triggers you in behaviors and things of that nature. Like really take the time to really analyze your own things. Take criticism to a point where at the very least you digest it and you try to figure out why they said that. Not whether you agree or whether they're right, you're right. That's not the conversation. It's like find out as much information you can about a topic. Ask questions. If you need help or even just a perspective, I send stuff to you. Like,
mm,
let's say I'm like stuck, or I'm like, oh, what do you think about this? Stuff like that. Send people, ask the people around you for those perspectives and things like that. Um, don't be afraid to try. You gotta try it first. Like you gotta test it out when you're out eating food. You can't tell me you don't like sushi if you've never had sushi. It's like things of that nature. Like, don't be afraid of the journey. Really, really embrace the journey, embrace the fact that there's always something you can learn. There's always somewhere you can improve. There's always a new technique that you didn't like, work more efficiently, find ways that, you know what I mean?
mm,
Things, it's a lot. I'm saying a lot, but it's all kind of rooted down to that like just be present, be very, very present and know that, time is fleeting. So at the same time, yeah, like we were saying, there's some days I don't want to do anything. That doesn't mean that my like there's still things happening, because now all the stuff that I was thinking about for the past weeks or this past month or this album or this project that I know I want to get done, now in that moment of when you have those downtimes, you're not you're using downtime as a decompressor. You're really just kind of like trying to kind of clear out your toxins and things of that nature. You know what I mean? So just don't be afraid of the journey too, like
Yeah.
really just like enjoy it, because next thing you know, it's 10 years later and you don't know what happened.
So yeah, like you said, the journey is really, the journey is crazy though. So because there's gonna be a lot of setbacks during the journey. So what are
You
some
gotta be
tips
will
for
you gotta be
people?
able you gotta be okay with uncomfortable situations. Like you have to be okay with being uncomfortable and not being where you want to be at that exact moment, or getting there fast enough.
Mm. So how can people deal with the setbacks when trying something new, experimenting, going through that journey? There's gonna be setbacks. There's gonna be things that don't exactly work out your way. How do you think people could deal with that? What are some tips?
Um I don't know if it would be like a necessarily like list of tips, but I think it really still just piggybacks off of what we were just talking about in the last question. It's like trust yourself, trust your
Mm.
instincts, stay true to yourself. Don't bend too far,
Mm.
like
Yeah.
you can make small compromises in a sense of like maybe you wouldn't have made done that 5 years ago, whatever, but it's like as long as you are still being yourself and staying true to yourself, and not folding, or not just changing because of the your environment kind of thing. It's like you really just got to trust yourself, and and know that if you do stay consistent and you stay on the path, like something has to give. It doesn't
Mm.
like something has to give at some point. There's always going to be some sort of setback. Right now, my computer could literally crash, and now our whole stream is done for right now.
Mm.
That's a setback. Guess what's happened? I'm gonna go get my laptop. I'm gonna pull out my phone, and we're just gonna continue the stream. I'm
Mhm.
not gonna be like, oh, my computer crashed, John. Oh my God, the world it's gonna fall down on me. You know what I mean? I'll be like, yo, give me 1 second. Like,
Mhm.
take it on the chin, man.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Don't let me sound like I don't sit at home at 3 in the morning and be like, you are not doing enough.
Mm.
Because trust me, I told you I'm my harshest critic. I'm the only person at the end of the day that keeps it 100% real with me. And if you can't be 100% honest in yourself, then how dare you expect anyone else to do that for you? You know
Mm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So
All right, so I have a few more questions for you, and then we're gonna get some questions from the people who are watching live right now. If you want to ask a question, the form is in the chat. Ask it right now. This is your last chance to ask any questions. We'll be asking Chop Suey Cheen some questions live on the air from you guys watching at home right now. So I want to ask you, what makes a song good to you? How do you know when it's complete when you're
mm,
creating your own music?
that's tough. What makes a song good to me? Hmm. It's a loaded question because it's my own unique, you know what I mean? It's like, to me, okay, so what makes a song good to me? Nicholas Pulcini. Um, a message, a message.
Mm.
Whether it no matter what the message is, it could be go ball out, spend 100 racks at the club, like whatever. Or it could be I love my family, or I am a scientist, like I like atoms and neurons and I'm a geek, like whatever it like. I feel like if there's some sort of message or story or some sort of I like to me, a good song has substance, in a sense of you can it can be surface level, like don't get me wrong. I like to turn up and I love Pop Smoke, or someone of that nature, or I could be in the club and enjoy a song and I think it's a good song. So I think to me it's like if it can connect to to the audience, if you can connect to the audience and you have a target and you can aim it, then I think that makes a good song.
Mm,
Now, if you break it down as far as like a sonic, like, oh, it has to have like a groove, a bass line that or like the drums have to hit hard, or maybe like that's a whole nother like kind of like that's another hour long conversation in itself. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like music theory and things of that nature, sonics, frequencies. Because you got to remember, like these are emotions. You know, music is emotion. No matter what frequency it's on, whether the substance is I I want to save the world and cure world hunger, or it's like I want to go spend $1 billion and IDAGF, however you acronym it, because I know I can't curse, you know. Um, so that's what makes a good song. And as an artist, what makes a good, like as a listener, that's what makes a good song to me. If I can just connect with what the person's saying and I just like I can feel what they're like, no matter like I'm like, man, I'm like, I am this person, you know?
mhm,
Um, and then for me as an artist, what makes a good song to me is at the as once I'm done at least like laying the vocals and I have the everything like all the ingredients like on the table, if I feel like nothing's like missing,
mm,
then I know it's done. But until I get to the point where I'm like, oh, I don't want to. Once I start trying to tweak knobs and I'm like, I'm just trying to turn up the snare 1 dB, like then I know I'm like, all right, just stop it. Like it's good, you know.
mhm,
Uh, so I've had to do like I did that on the last EP, and I had to like kind of relinquish the reins a little bit because I get into like this manic state where I can just like I'll freak out, and I was stressing my engineer out right towards the end. But I, you know, that's just like how it is. I'm passionate, you know. The way I talk, you know, everything about like I think it just pours out of me. You know what I mean? But
mhm,
for it to be a good song as an artist, I just have to feel like nothing's missing. You know.
mhm. Gotcha. All right, I have a couple more questions. Then we're gonna take some questions from the chat.
I
Uh,
think there was a second part of that question. I think I missed that though.
no,
No.
it was how. When is it? When you know it's finished, and you kind of
Okay, there you
answer
go.
that.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
What's your favorite part of being a creative?
Oh man. It's therapy, you know?
Mm,
It's just therapeutic in all the senses. When I see something, when I outdo myself,
mm,
when I thought something I did 6 months ago was fly, and then I do something now, I'm like, man, I'm like, that is good. That boy's good. You know, it's one of those like when I just feel the satisfaction from it, you know, it's pure therapy for me, everything.
mm,
Aside from like working in like a corporate environment and you gotta you got to do some stuff that someone's just telling you to do. They're like, I don't care if you don't want to do it, you got to do it. I don't like that part of it, but sometimes you got to eat it.
mm,
But as far as like being a creative, it's literally just the freedom, you know.
mm,
It's like a sense of freedom. It's like being on the open road on a motorcycle and just screaming down the highway, you know, like
mm.
that's what it's like to be a creative.
What's the worst part about being a creative?
That people that are very close to you don't understand you. Mm. I think that's the toughest thing I've run into in a long time. And the dope side of that is you start to surround yourself with people that understand you. So you know, you have family, you have childhood friends, you have new friends, you have everything under the sun. You know, and the one disheartening thing is I'm so excited about the stuff I do that it's tough to like the people that care about you most to even relate, you know,
Mm.
because they don't get it, you know, they just don't get it. So I think that's tough.
All right, we're gonna go through a couple of your favorite things. Then we're gonna take questions, and then stay till the end, everybody, because we're gonna talk about some future plans or leaks from Chop Suey Cheen. So let's go through the favorites at first. All right, 5 favorites. Favorite place you've been
Like on the planet.
on the planet.
mm, Favorite place I've ever been, can it be,
Could
does
be
it have to be like
anywhere.
a city, can is it just like a restaurant, is
Could
it
be
like what is it?
literally anywhere. Up to you.
Damn, that's so tough. Favorite place to be or favorite place I visited? Hmm. I'd say, man, I don't know. I don't want to like. All right, we're just gonna Puerto Rico. Love
Fa-
it. The beach in Puerto Rico, paradise.
Favorite movie?
I was literally on the phone last night. I was talking about this. My top 5 or just like top 5 off the top of my head. I'm gonna just go Goonies.
Goonies.
Yeah.
Favorite color
That changes based on the day, but it's
right
green.
now? Green.
No, it's green. Yeah, it's always been green, but like since I was a kid, I liked green.
Favorite season?
It's summer. Summer, man. Summer forever.
Favorite music artist?
Oh man. I'm just gonna say DMX.
All right. So there we go. All right. So now we're going to take some questions from the chat. If you want to ask a question, this is literally your last chance. We're going to be answering all the questions right now. Shout out to everyone watching live. Really appreciate everybody watching live. All right. So first question right off the bat, we have from Grizz. Shout out to Grizz.
Shout out
And
to Grizz,
and Grizz wants to
Mr.
know.
Grizzly Adams himself.
Grizz wants to know.
Hmm.
Favorite your favorite let me see. One second. Favorite or your favorite editing program and what is the worst editing program?
I mean, my favorite is Adobe Premiere. I mean, just because that's literally what I've been using for over a decade now. Worst? Um, like what is the worst one to use or just like the crappiest?
Whatever the
Um,
worst one you think is that
I
you've
mean,
used.
man, I started in Movie Maker, so I don't want to I don't want to, Movie Maker like birthed my whole career, Windows Movie Maker. But I want to say the worst one to use as like as a user that I didn't like was Avid,
Hmm.
and that was it's like there's like industry standards, which is like Final Cut, Avid, and now Premiere because Premiere was like a later edition, but. I took this like course once and they tried to teach me this Avid program that was for like broadcast or something. I was like, yo, get this out of here. This is trash.
All right. Next question we have up from let me see. All right, next question we have up from Amanda. Shout out to Amanda. What software do you use to create music?
I produce in Fruity Loops. To this day. To this day. And that's just for sense of familiarity, and it does everything you can do and everything else. And once you kind of like get in the groove with something, it doesn't matter what software you use. But that's for production is Fruity Loops. Sometimes I'll do some demos in there, but vocals and mixing and stuff, I just go with Pro Tools.
All right, we have another question, or this is pretty much a statement. Shout out to Stell. Stell says, intensity, integrity, intelligence. Kurt Angle.
Yo, Stella is that is a special guy. That's a special guy right there, man.
Shout out to Stell. But yeah, I feel like that kind of goes with your vibe though.
Mm.
Intensity, integrity, intelligence.
I think he said that because that's a phrase that he's familiar with because he's a Kurt Angle fan and he just applied it here. So I feel that Stels.
All right, next question we have up from Craig. Shout out to Smooth Craig.
Shout out to Smooth Craig.
Do you like the digital age now or the new old school vinyl records coming back?
I love it all, man. I'm not one of those. I'm a nostalgic person because I actually grew up in that. But I don't. I I love it all. I love it all because I will make hi-fi, high definition, like this, and that, and the other. And I also have a bunch of vinyl. So I mean, I love that I can buy my favorite albums, current albums that come out and have a vinyl version of it and not just have to be on my phone all the time. Sometimes you just want to drop a record on the record player and just feel like you're away from this technology and stuff. Like right now, I took 2 weeks off. This is my second week off of like work and things of that nature. I haven't done any work. And this is the longest I've been on a computer in almost over a week because I just had to take a break from this technology stuff, like just sometimes in general, just like you just gotta get away from it.
So we have another question. Shout out to Mike. This question's from Mike. Mike asks, what's your favorite physical art medium?
My favorite physical art medium. I think just like sketching, it's like, you mean like drawing and stuff? Drawing, painting, sculpting, that, and you're saying it, that's what he means, right?
Yeah.
I'd say drawing, definitely. I used to sketch in my notebooks in class, man. I just like it's just something that it's just like it's super soothing, and it really just helps me sometimes just get an idea that on paper that I wouldn't have gotten in the digital space. I want to start painting. I have an easel and I got a bunch of canvases and stuff like this. By the way, good, that's my brand. That's later. But yeah, I want to get into painting though. But drawing. Yeah.
All right. So shout out to everyone who asked some questions. So why don't you tell us what's next for Chop Suey Cheen? What are some future plans? What are you working on right now? Any leaks that you could tell anybody that nobody knows just yet?
Well, currently, some of the biggest things I've done is I designed the cover art for Music Soul Child and Hit Boy's album that just came out on March 10th. It was like number one album in the country, or the R&B album, for like a week or two. Fire. That's a monumental thing for me. And then Hit Boy dropped his album a week ago, so I designed a bunch of stuff for the pop-up release party for the venue and stuff like that. So that was pretty, and that's me. Now I'm in LA, so I'm really just trying to like make my mark here the way that I felt like I kind of did in New York as well. Those are just two my most recent projects I'm really proud about. Aside from I just directed, edited, shot this a skit with Young Miami from City Girls for Complex. That just came out yesterday, I believe. Those are just my three most recent like top tier projects that I'm super proud about. And then I mean, I directed a photo shoot for a clothing company in Queens called Vision Attire, and my man Raul, he shot the photos in New York. I directed it from here, put the whole thing together. So just being able to really direct from here and trust the people that I have in New York to like get the results that I want. That's another thing I'm really excited about. Then I have Summer of Lambrusco EP. It's good, man. I've listened to it myself, and I don't even usually listen too much of my own music after I'm done and I put it out, because I've listened to it 100 times in the mixing process and stuff. But this EP was I think it was just like the knowing that I was moving. I wanted to like really just like kind of capture my last summer and really just like tell my story and really be descriptive and really just kind of bring you into my world. So I'm so proud of that project because I produced it myself. I wrote it. I spent the late nights. I just put in so much effort for it. And I still need to push more on it. I'm a little. I think I slacked a little bit on the promoting side of that, because that's the thing we forget sometimes. It's like we take all this time to make this thing and we put it out in the world. It's here it is, world. And they're like, okay. So I gotta get better at just constantly just pushing the stuff I'm proud about. other than that, for me myself, I mean, and a lot of the stuff I've done for the artists and the people that I'm working with, like very closely. Like, I got my crew Bushwick Grand, and they have kept this collective going in Brooklyn, and I just help them with all their creative and things of that nature. So I'm really proud of all the stuff that we've done for them. I love when I make something that I've spent my time on that I'm excited about, and we drop one of those like recap videos for a party, and you see the comments like, "Yo, this is great!" Like, who edited this? Like, like things like that. I'll read the comments. I'll be like, "Yo, that's fly." Um, and then you know, myself, I just and my artist Timeless Biz, who I've been working with for a couple of years now. I do all his creative direction, his videos. So just being able to keep his that consistent and really help that, like, give that an identity. Like his branding is very prominent and very, brand heavy, and there's a level of identity that matches his. So being able to match that personality so it's like, I don't treat the complex stuff like I do the Bushwick Grand stuff. I don't treat the Cheen stuff like I do the Biz stuff. I don't treat the, whatever the case is. I'll do something for you. You know what I mean? Like, I love that 420 thing we did a while ago, or with the papers, like the animation, like stuff like that is, I'm super proud of the ones that we just, when most of it is really built around the fun. I love those projects, and that's why I still, to this day, I'm never gonna be able to stop making music, because that's my place of, like, I have ultimate freedom control there, and I just really get to express myself in however I see fit, Um, and then what's coming up? So yeah, Summer of Lambrusco is out. I hope you stream it, share it, tag me, don't tag me, I don't care. As long as you stream it, you like it, go to brunch, do the things that I'm talking about, like step into my world. Next I have I think it's gonna be 2 albums. I have a whole, like, a 12 track project titled Pulcini, that I produced maybe 95% of it. It's all the vocals are tracked. Some of it's mixed, some of it's not. I had to put pause on that because I knew I couldn't finish that before the summer of Lambrusco. So I paused on that, and then I'm revisiting that. So that's almost done. Try to drop that maybe my birthday, June 27th. I always like to drop something around my birthday. And then after that, I've been, when I set foot in LA, and I have not let off the gas. I think that's another reason why I took these last 2 weeks off, because I was burning out a little bit. And I have a project called The Good Side. So this is the Pulcini. The album is gonna be some of like the more like vulnerable side, some of just like the real, like, just getting to know me a little bit more on a personal side, and really just telling some of my stories and my perspective on life and things like that. Love, friendship, money, success, downfalls, all. It's kind of like everything. It's that album where I'm like really kind of just telling my whole story, kind of thing. And then the good side is, I'm telling you right now, the good side is gonna be the one that people are afraid of, because that's the one that I'm really about to like. I'm about to turn it up. I'm about to turn it up, John. I'm
Mm,
telling you, like, some of this stuff, like, we about to. I'm trying to manifest everything that I see in the next 10 years in this project.
mm,
So this project is about to tell you what it looks like after,
mm,
right? Like, where my vision is, what it's really gonna be. Pulcini is like, let me get all my emotions out, and like kind of release some of that.
mm,
Anything I've been holding on to, I'm singing on it. Like, I'm literally singing on the Pulcini EP, to the point where I had to add auto tune to it, not like the T-Pain auto tune, but like corrective auto tune, because there was no other way for me to express that feeling without fully just like singing. And I'm not a singer. I'm like I could just hold like a very comfortable note if that makes sense. But I'm telling you, the good side gonna be the one. It's gonna take us out the projects.
All right, so that we got a lot to look forward to, and if you don't know anything by Cheen, make sure you go check it out. And where can people find you or find those projects? How do people find it? Where should people look you up?
Um.
How
Oh
can
yeah,
people reach out?
that's another thing. I just officially changed my artist name to Cheen dot. So I put a dot at the end because there's some other artists like in the world that have the exact same name, and I just wanted to find it a little easier to know exactly which one's me and not that, and that, because it's tough with all these like distribution platforms. Everyone can distribute their stuff, and there's no like real like trademark law. Like there's a lot of like things get like fishy over there. So you got to really differentiate yourself in some way. And I thought about changing my actual name to something else. And I just felt like it would have just been like, I don't know, it made me feel icky, right? And I was just like, what if I just like help the search find me faster? I'm like, what can I do? So I'm just like, I just added the dot.
Mm.
So
So
it's
how can
Cheen dot. So you can search almost anywhere with just Cheen dot on any of the platforms. Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. You can follow me on YouTube. It's at Chop Suey Film. So it's youtube.com/a Chop Suey Film. And that's where you can find all my YouTube content. But the music is on all the streaming platforms. I got right now, I got the Fragments EP, I got a couple singles, and I got the Summer of Lambrusco EP out. And then on Instagram, it's good GOOD dot Cheen, CHEEN, on social media or on Instagram. I'm not really on Facebook and stuff like that. Twitter's Chop Suey Cheen. And yeah, you can connect to my Chop Suey Studios Instagram too. It's in my good.cheen bio. So, and if you go on the good.cheen bio, in the link in there has like links to almost everything else as well. So I like to use Instagram as like the hub.
Mhm. So if you guys are watching right now, his links are in the bio of the description of what you're watching right now. So first, I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched live, and thank you to everyone who asked questions. Really appreciate all the support. If you are not subscribed to the channel yet, please hit that subscribe button. I want to give a huge shout out to my friend Chop Suey Cheen. We've known each other for like 20 years now, and I've never interviewed my friends before, so that was fun.
I know. I'm so proud of you, man. I like I think what's funny, it's kind of like you did this a similar thing once you invested in this space, you know. You really kind of put your chips in, you bet on yourself, and you really put it in, and you've grown, and just even just these couple of years that you've had it, right? And you're expanding, you got your live stream, you got this, you're putting on for other people. I just want to say I'm proud of you as well, man. Like I see the growth, I pay attention, I support everything that you're doing, man. And I'm on phone call away for whatever.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone who supports. Seriously, we couldn't do this without you guys. This is the Hype It Up show. It's a live podcast that we do on Tuesdays, not every Tuesday, bi-weekly. You could watch it live on YouTube and ask your own questions, or you could catch the replays on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the streaming platforms. So thank you so much to everyone who supports the Hype It Up show. And one more shout out to Cheen, and thank you so much. It was awesome time. I appreciate you.
Yo, shout out to y'all for watching. Appreciate you. Listen to Summer at Lambrusco EP. I promise you're not gonna disappoint. You heard? What a funk, baby.
Go listen to that right now, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your time. Peace out, everybody. Peace.